It was the largest and most brutal theater of war in human history, a place where more soldiers fought, more civilians died, and more suffering unfolded than anywhere else during the Second World War. From the blistering deserts of the Crimea to the frozen forests of Karelia, from the ashes of Stalingrad to the ruins of Berlin, this was the Eastern Front. A front that tore Europe apart, a front that shaped the Cold War, a front that decided the outcome of World War II. This is the story of that front, a war of ideology, race, and survival between Adolf Hitler's Nazi Germany and Joseph Stalin's Soviet Union. Chapter 1. The Pact of Devils, 1939-1941. August 23, 1939. Berlin. Two unlikely allies, Nazi Germany and the Soviet Union, sign a pact of non-aggression, the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact. But behind the public handshake lies a secret, a plan to divide Eastern Europe between them. Days later, Hitler invades Poland from the west. On September 17th, Soviet troops invade from the east. Poland is wiped off the map in under a month. Stalin seizes the Baltic states, Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania, and carves off eastern Romania. Meanwhile, Hitler turns west, conquering Denmark, Norway, the Low Countries, and France in 1940. But his eyes never leave the east. He despises Bolshevism. He dreams of Lebensraum, living space for Germans in the fertile lands of Ukraine and Russia. The Soviet Union, in Hitler's eyes, is a racial and ideological enemy that must be destroyed. Chapter 2. Operation Barbarossa, June to December 1941. On the early morning of June 22, 1941, Hitler unleashes Operation Barbarossa, the largest military invasion in history. Over 3 million Axis troops cross the Soviet border along a 1,800-mile front. They are supported by nearly 4,000 aircraft, 3,500 tanks, and 600,000 vehicles. Three massive army groups drive east. Army Group North heads for Leningrad, Army Group Center makes for Moscow, Army Group South pushes into Ukraine. The Soviets are caught off guard. Their air force is decimated on the ground. Hundreds of thousands of Red Army troops are encircled in vast pockets and taken prisoner. In the first few months alone, over 3 million Soviet troops are captured. But the Soviet Union is too big and the people too determined to fall easily. In September, the Germans surround Leningrad. The siege lasts 872 days. Over 1 million civilians will die, mostly of starvation. In Ukraine, the Holocaust begins in earnest. Nazi death squads, Einsatzgruppen, move behind the front, rounding up Jews, Roma, and political enemies. At Babi Yar, near Kyiv, over 33,000 Jews are murdered in just 2 days. It is one of many such massacres. The Germans press toward Moscow, but by December the weather turns. Temperatures drop below -30 degrees Celsius. German tanks freeze, soldiers suffer frostbite. Hitler orders no retreat. Then, Chapter 3. A War of Exhaustion, 1942. In 1942, Hitler pivots south. He wants the oil fields of the Caucasus. Without oil, the German war machine cannot function. The operation is codenamed Case Blue. Army Group South surges toward the Volga River and the city of Stalingrad, a key industrial center and a propaganda prize. Hitler is obsessed with taking the city named after his rival. By late summer, German troops are fighting in the streets of Stalingrad. Buildings become fortresses. Every floor, every stairwell is a battleground. The Soviets cling to a narrow strip of land on the Volga's west bank. Stalin refuses evacuation. He issues Order 227, not a step back. Then in November 1942, the Soviets launch Operation Uranus. They don't strike the city, they strike the flanks, held by under-equipped Romanian and Hungarian troops. Within days, the Germans in Stalingrad are encircled. Hitler orders them to hold. He promises supplies by air, an impossible fantasy. By January 1943, the trapped Sixth Army is starving, frostbitten, wounded, out of ammunition. On February 2nd, Field Marshal Paulus surrenders. Over 90,000 Germans go into captivity. Fewer than 6,000 will return. Stalingrad is a turning point. The myth of Nazi invincibility is broken. Chapter 4. Kursk and the Collapse, 1943. In summer 1943, Hitler launches Operation Citadel, an offensive to crush a Soviet bulge near Kursk. It becomes the largest tank battle in history, nearly 6,000 tanks and 2 million men. The Soviets, warned by spies, have fortified the region heavily. The Germans advance, but at great cost. On July 12th, at Prokhorovka, waves of Soviet T-34s smash into German Tigers. The sky is filled with dogfights, the ground a tangle of burning metal. Within days, the Germans call off the attack. From that moment on, the Red Army is on the offensive. One city after another is liberated. Orel, Kharkiv, Smolensk, Dnipro. By the end of 1943, German forces are in retreat across the entire front. Chapter 5. Operation Bagration, Death of an Army, 1944. June 22, 1944, exactly 3 years after Barbarossa. The Soviets launch Operation Bagration. In 1 month, they destroy Army Group Center, the backbone of German forces in the east. Nearly 500,000 German troops are killed, wounded, or captured. It is a catastrophe greater than Stalingrad. Belarus is liberated. The Red Army reaches the Vistula River in Poland. As they advance, they uncover the horrors of Nazi occupation. Entire villages have been exterminated. Survivors are skeletal, starved. In July 1944, Soviet troops liberate Majdanek, the first Nazi death camp discovered. The world begins to understand the scale of the Holocaust. Chapter 6. The Road to Berlin, 1945. By January 1945, the Soviet Union is ready for the final blow. The Vistula-Oder offensive is launched. In 3 weeks, Soviet forces advance over 300 miles. They are now less than 50 miles from Berlin. On April 16th, the Battle of Berlin begins. The Red Army throws 2.5 million men, 6,000 tanks, and 7,500 aircraft at the capital of the Reich. The city is defended by old men, Hitler Youth, and broken divisions. The fighting is savage, street by street, room by room. On April 30th, Adolf Hitler takes his own life in his bunker. On May 2nd, Berlin surrenders. The war in Europe is over. On May 9th, the Soviet Union celebrates Victory Day. Chapter 7. The Cost. The victory is total, but so is the cost. The Soviet Union has lost over 26 million people. Entire cities, Stalingrad, Leningrad, Minsk, Sevastopol, are in ruins. Over 70,000 villages have been destroyed. Germany, too, lies in ashes. Over 5 million German soldiers are dead, most of them on the Eastern Front. The landscape of Eastern Europe has changed forever. The Iron Curtain will soon descend. The Eastern Front was not a sideshow. It was the war, the place where Hitler's empire was broken and Stalin's was born. A war of fire and ice, of ideology and survival, of horror and heroism. The war that broke the world and rebuilt it in blood.